Hexagram 47. Pushing upward. Being lifted up by the helpers. All right. Now, how many times have I got this one? Let's have a look here. 19th of March, I got 2nd line, 5th line, 6th line, 10th of April, 1st and 3rd, 20th of May, the 3rd line. Here we go. The judgment. Pushing upward has supreme success. One must see the great man. Fear not. Departure toward the south brings good fortune. The cosmic theme of this hexagram is how inner development leads to the fulfillment of one's life. Supreme success, in cosmic terms, is achieved through freeing the true self by subtracting, step by step, the false internalized program of the collective ego. Each subtraction of a false seed phrase or image initiates a transformation that involves being lifted up by the helpers of the invisible world. It's going to highlight that. I want to come back to that. By contrast, the attainment of supreme success is presented by the collective ego as ascending to a high position in society, business, spirituality, etc., through accommodating oneself to the collective ego's values and rules. Success, in ego terms, involves pushing upward through mental effort and external action. In the latter, the person is without aid of the cosmic helpers. He must battle through his difficulties alone. In the course of these battles, he invariably runs into conflict and uses power, and thus creates a fate. Cosmic success is achieved through inner action that is directed at bringing oneself into harmony with the cosmic way. It is carried out simply, without ambition, and through asking for help. The result is success. Receiving this hexagram is counsel to make a decision between these two paths. Where he puts his wish, he puts his will. Is it the path of his unique destiny that he alone can trod by following his inner truth, or the one laid out by ancient wisdom that has been trodden by others? Pushing upward has supreme success refers to getting past obstructions and difficulties in a specific way. Through saying the inner no to their causes and asking for help from the cosmic helpers, one must see the great man. I'm going to say that line again. Pushing upward has supreme success refers to getting past obstructions and difficulties in a specific way, through saying the inner no to their causes and asking for help from the cosmic helpers. One must see the great man refers, in this hexagram, to the helper of transformation, which is called forth by turning within in meditation and asking for help. Departure toward the south points to the direction in which one finds this help, within rather than up as in heaven. Fear not counsels that if a person does this, he can safely let go of the dread he may have of what will happen. With regard to the individual ego, this hexagram points to its ambition to remain in control of the personality. The thing the ego most dreads is the person's self-examination that would expose its tricks and manipulations. Therefore, once a person has decided to undertake the liberation of his true self, the ego's first move is to join the effort with gusto. Just as it had once eagerly set itself goals of brilliance, power, and success in worldly attainments, it now renounces them and puts up the values associated with self-development that will show it as modest, true, spiritual, and devoted. It then proceeds, if not halted, to beat the person to death, if necessary, to prove itself devoted. This is the purpose of many of the ascetic and complicated practices associated with self-development, to divert us from ever seeing that accessing the sage is meant to be simple and direct. The lessons with the sage always have a liberating effect, whereas self-development through the ego enslaves us more and more. The ego is ever goal-orientated, and discovering its goal orientation is one of the ways to catch on to its presence and trickery. Its means of pushing upward, is one of the upgrade features of the collective ego's program, which allows the ego to adapt to the shifts and turns the person makes as he tries to get free of it. Sometimes a person receives this hexagram as confirmation of the help that has followed his relating to a situation harmoniously, as after he has said the inner no to wrong intentions on the part of someone and then turned the matter over to the cosmos. Being pushed upward refers to the transformation that takes place when he has correctly said the inner no. Spells connected with this hexagram have to do with traditional interpretations that suggest the desirability of pushing upward on a ladder of success, the success defined by the collective ego, and making the effort required to overcome obstructions as through taking competitive examinations, accommodating oneself to rules and regulations, and integrating them into one's mental program. The person is asked to bend himself around the resulting obstructions and to stretch himself to tolerate them as normal, rather than looking into their causes and saying the inner no to them. These spells include phrases such as accommodation and integration are part of the civilized way. You can't fight City Hall. Nothing comes from nothing. No pain, no gain. Tolerance of ideas means integrating them. Just go with the flow. And the way to overcome obstructions is to bend to the fact that they are harder than you are. Many misinterpretations of the traditional I Ching come from commentaries that have misrepresented nature's way, as in this case, where seedlings are pictured as pushing upward through the soil with effort. In reality, they are moved up by the helpers of nature, which achieve things through transformation. Rather than using energy, new energy is created in this act. From these misinterpretations, false analogies have been drawn and applied to human life as wisdom taken from nature. Wilhelm says in his commentary, pushing upward indicates rather a vertical ascent, direct rise from obscurity and lowliness to power and influence. I just want to check something, and then we'll move on to the lines. Hexagram 46. Great, pretty sure I haven't done this. Feels familiar. I'm having like flashbacks of reading this, but it's all good. Line 1. Pushing upward that meets with confidence brings great fortune. This line describes the true confidence that... Hold on. There's something in the way here. That flows. Just going to minimize that window. Just leave it like that. This line describes the true confidence that grows from following our inner truth and finding that we are lifted out of our difficulties by the helpers. This confidence comes from repeatedly experiencing the relatability of the sage's guidance and help to understand the hidden factors in situations. It happens gradually through taking small steps of trust by temporarily suspending one's disbelief. The inner growth achieved differs from faith, which requires a person to put aside his common sense in favour of trusting an abstract concept taught to him by human authorities. To develop a direct personal communication with the sage, the person needs to remove the spells that have been put on his common sense. See below. Receiving this line is to reassure him of the great good fortune that comes when he builds confidence in this one-to-one relationship with the sage. This line may also point to a person's lack of confidence in his feelings, or a doubt that he will receive help from the sage or helpers in time. Lack of such confidence in his feelings points to phrases operating in his inner program that say, "I can't trust my feelings," or, "If everything depends on the helpers, how do I know they will come in time?" See page 540, Freeing Yourself of Seed Phrases and Images. This line can also indicate the presence of a self-confidence coming from the ego that gives the person the impression that his undertakings will be extremely successful. He can use the RTCM to find out whether this meaning is intended, and if so, he can identify the causes of his false confidence. Line 2. If one is sincere, it furthers one to bring even a small offering, no blame. This line calls a person to make a small offering that will restore him to his wholeness and free him from blame. Small, here, gives the clue that one or more seed phrases are indicated, which are at the root of great trees of thought. The object is not to deal with the whole tree, but to identify and extinguish the seed that has given rise to it. Through the I Ching, making an offering means to divest oneself of a mistaken idea or belief by saying the inner no to it, or deprogram it in a short meditation. The offering referred to here is the idea of original sin and guilt, and the beliefs it has given rise to that, due to their false nature, cause real blame. The single idea of original sin is such a seed because it is a slander put upon nature itself, of which we humans are one aspect. When a person possesses this idea, which has given rise to the belief that the self is divided into spirit, mind, and body, he wants to push himself up and out of this, his slandered animal nature. This impulse to escape his own nature provides the entire basis of the hierarchical view of the universe and of the human effort to escape the influence of the body by becoming spiritual, meaning non-animal, or incorporeal, without body. The idea of humans as potentially spiritual provides the basis for seeing humans as being at the center of the universe. All these derivative beliefs, which come from the one belief that a person's original nature is flawed or tainted, separate humans from the cosmic unity and are the real causes of blame. This is because the demonization of any part of one's nature causes that part to become perverted. The way for a person to get out of his difficulties is not to sacrifice any part of his nature, but to divest himself of the above beliefs and the seed phrases which give rise to them. By firmly rejecting them, he draws the sage and the helpers from retirement to lift him out of his difficulties. This line can also refer to the help that lifts the person upward, while it may come as an unexpected and unusual event that some people would call a miracle or supernatural. This is the ordinary way nature creates transformations. When help is not blocked by our fixed ideas of how things are supposed to work. Line 3. One pushes upward into an empty city. This line is similar to line 3 of Hexagram 3, making a new beginning, which speaks of a person who hunts deer without the aid of the forester, the sage, who knows where the deer are and how to kill them. Such a person only loses his way in the forest, which represents the demonic sphere of consciousness created by the collective ego. Here, the empty city refers to a place from which the helpers have withdrawn. This means an institution, an imagined solution, a direct or a direction or an attitude which does not contain the possibility of progress. Because of the entirely mental approach used here that ignores them. The line may also refer to a person's demanding or presumptuous attitude toward the sage or the helpers. The empty city is also a metaphor for the emptiness of hoping. Hoping is never in harmony with the cosmic way because it is focused on the future, due to the assumption that there is no help in the present. The person hoping does not realize that he can receive immediate help if he will say the inner no to hoping and ask the cosmos for help. The empty city may also refer to the place, such as an imaginary heaven, for the fulfillment that he deems to be unattainable on earth. This amounts to a statement that he has ruled out the possibility of help coming in this life from the helpers. No amount of hope will bring about a satisfactory conclusion, so as long as such views and the fears and doubts that are behind them prevail. What must be addressed are these fears, doubts, false convictions, and his reliance on hoping. Then the sage and the helpers will be freed to come. Line 4. The king offers him Mount Chi, good fortune, no blame. The king offers him Mount Chi refers to a person's progress toward reunification with the cosmic whole. Through ridding himself of the errors mentioned in the previous lines, the person is lifted up, reunified with the whole through transformation. The king here refers to the helper that lifts him up out of his difficult situation. When, however, Mount Chi is taken for a symbol for a sacred mountain, the line can indicate that a person needs to free himself of the self-image of being spiritual. The person who has climbed Mount Chi flatters himself that he has attained spiritual enlightenment and a connection with heaven. In his mind, climbing the sacred mountain is the spiritual journey that will free him of the earthiness of his nature and thereby bring about his wholeness. The half-truth of this idea is obvious when we ask, wholeness of what? A person who seeks to elevate himself out of his body is not achieving wholeness, for wholeness is to fully embrace all of one's being. This embrace is possible only by divesting oneself of all beliefs that divide the personality up into parts and all hierarchical views that place one part as higher than or superior to another. When a person elevates himself above his body, which connects him with the source of the very life that he unifies with his death. When a person elevates himself above his body, which connects him with the source of the very life, what he unifies with is death. The mind and soul draw all their energy from the person's true nature. The mind is a part of the psyche. All parts of the body psyche are different kinds of consciousness that are meant to function in complementary ways to enhance life. See page 572, Glossary, the Soul. Transformation occurs when a person says the inner no to these ideas and beliefs which flatter the mind and separate the person from his unity with nature. Such self-flattery denigrates the earth and all things natural. Line 5. Perseverance brings good fortune. One either pushes up. Line 5. Perseverance brings good fortune. One either pushes upward by steps or is being lifted up by steps. Perseverance points to the way we make true progress. Every mistaken idea we have ever entertained, including those from our earliest childhood, remain in our mental program until such time as we bring it into full consciousness and reject it. This process is carried out under the guidance of the sage that alone knows the next step which is appropriate for each individual. The process continues until the mental program is fully deprogrammed and the person is his true self once again. A certain dedication and perseverance is required, but all is made easier when we ask the helper of examination to bring the ideas to mind and to erase them. Perseverance in its ego meaning is often associated with images such as putting your nose to the grindstone or pursuing something doggedly. Such an attitude is one which allows the ego to be the hunter of the ego, something that certainly will not lead to success. The steps the sage wants us to take have a The steps the sage wants us to take have a constancy that is free of pressure. The sage and the helper of self-examination do all the scheduling for us, bringing the lessons to us after the other in the form of life situations. In this way, the life situations are corrected while the lessons are being learned as part of the economy and practicability of the cosmic way. When a person finds himself asking, "Is there something I need to correct today?" when no problems exist, he is being too ambitious. He needs only to respond to questions and situations that come to his attention to progress smoothly. Otherwise, he's meant to enjoy his life. The line also points to phrases which assert that inner work is difficult, or that one cannot meditate. See page 435, Hexagram 52, meditating. Self-examination can indeed be easy if the person rids himself of the seed phrases that misrepresent perseverance. They assert that anything worthwhile requires hard work, asceticism, and rigorous discipline, a view which projects itself into reality. Correctly viewed, perseverance is the process whereby a person consistently brings himself into harmony with the cosmos, because it allows him to throw off one burden after another. The goal is not that of climbing upward to attain wholeness, as through cultivating abstract virtues, engaging in positive thinking, or following someone's footsteps, nor is it climbing upward to attain heaven itself. It is rather a stepping down from all pretenses and ambitions that require such efforts. Thus, the humble person allows himself to be lifted up by the helpers. A phrase that often undoes the good results is, "It can't be that easy." Doubts of this kind and other efforts of the ego to denigrate self-correction need to be intercepted immediately and deprogrammed. Line 6. Pushing upward in darkness. It furthers one to be unremittingly persevering. Pushing upward in darkness refers to blind impulses driven by the ego. A person presses forward in a goal-orientated way under the conviction that some progress will be achieved. As mentioned in the general text of this hexagram, we are not meant to be goal-orientated toward a mentally conceived end. Because such efforts exclude the helpers, the most such a person can achieve is a temporary conformity to his wishes or the attainment of an ego goal. The person receiving this line is counseled to seek out and deprogram hidden seed phrases that have formed themselves into imps, which push him to act impulsively. The imps then cause him to invest in false enthusiasms. The common theme behind these phrases is the attainment of supreme success. If the goal is money or fame, The imps drive the person to sell his dignity to attain it. If the goal is spiritual perfection, the person may sacrifice his health, friends, or possessions. The careful path of following one's inner feelings by small steps never elicits this kind of enthusiasm. To be unremittingly persevering here is incorrect advice, when it is taken to mean constant effort. The reason behind that no room is given for the helper of transformation to do its part. I'll say that again. To be unremittingly persevering here is incorrect advice when it is taken to mean constant effort, the reason being that no room is given for the helper of transformation to do its part. It is the one that helps the correct effort along and completes the awareness to transformation. Effort furthers only when the person moves forward after having gained clarity, or when there are clear indications from the helpers that it is time to take inner or outer action. A person often receives this line when he has made a great effort to follow the sage's counsel, but has not achieved the expected result. This is because the ego has ambitiously taken charge and made him slavishly follow each word of the I Ching text, while chastising him for every mistake. This has blocked both the sage and the helper of transformation. To free these helpers, he needs to say the inner no to his slavish efforts at pleasing the sage as if the sage were his superior. This line can also refer to a person who thinks that he has been spiritually awakened. To bring himself back into harmony, he needs to free himself of the self-image of the awakened person. Delicious. My contemplations. When did I get this one last? Uh, 20th of May. Yeah, good. Was that yesterday? Yesterday. Yeah, cool. So, my contemplations. Yesterday, I happened to talk to one of my best friends. He lives in the Northern Rivers, more specifically Lismore. And he's been my friend for about 30 years. And we met in high school and lived in a similar area for a while. When my parents separated, we got a house much further into the country. And he was on the same bus as me. And in his high school, I think it was year 12, maybe year 11 or 12, a number of kids at my school went through either psychotic breaks or some form of suicidal ideation or action. And he was one of them. And we connected when he attempted to take his own life. And we've been speaking ever since. And he is been practicing Zen meditation for a long time. And we had a conversation yesterday about like me stopping seeing my mentor, stopping a whole bunch of things, and helping me come to go full circle to being okay in my own skin and being okay in my body, being okay in my own way of being. And this friend of mine, we've gone about our inner work in different ways, but we always seem to end up at the same spot. And one of the main reasons why I deeply care about him is because he understands me, like he gets me quite well. And we speak to very similar concepts. We have a very similar sense of humor. In fact, when in our 20s, we went halves in a combi, a Volkswagen combi. I think it was a 76 maybe or a 79, can't remember. 1979 combi. And we travelled Australia for a bit. And we had deep connections around travelling and adventures. But I digress here. But in our conversation yesterday, we spoke about cutting back, trimming the fat. And that's exactly what showed up last night when I was like, what's going on for me right now? What is this sensation? What is it? What's going on here? And I got the 46. And what showed up, which was in perfect synchronicity with this, was supreme success in cosmic terms is achieved through freeing the true self by subtracting, step by step, subtracting. Okay. And I also mentioned to him that I'm stop using the gene keys and human design, and he said to me, John, like, every single time you told me about these systems, I said, what do you need all those stories for? Like, what do you actually need them for? And I was like, yeah, fuck, what did I actually need all them for? What did I need my astrology? What did I need my human design, my profile, my strategy and my authority and the gene keys, what's in my spheres? What do I actually need them for, right? And while I can look back on reflection and see, well, these are actually really useful for other things and giving me options for life that I didn't even realize. For example, now like for Cassie and I, like sleeping in separate beds, like that's really worked for us. Like she's a projector, I'm a generator in the context of human design. So when we were looking for a house, we actually looked for a house that had enough bedrooms for us to facilitate that. Before that, before even knowing that that was even an option, that wouldn't have even crossed my mind. Like separate beds, not really economically sensible. So no, but actually it's become an important linchpin, like an important foundation in our relationship. And when I tell other people that I do it, they're like, oh, John, that's incredible. How do you do that? You just do it. So where did that idea come from? It came from human design. So in all of this, there can be an over-reliance on systems, but then also following things that are your truth. Like for me, letting go of human design and gene keys is now my truth. So the true self is by subtracting, and in those stages, I needed to add. And if you also have crossover with, I'm not going to go there, it's irrelevant. So why that's important is because in Zen meditation, it is very much about subtracting. And my friend recommended to me, I'm just going to load up ChatGPT here. There was a Zen monk, if you call them. I don't know if they actually call them. Where was it? Maybe it was in here. Chitta. Here we go. So, yeah, he mentioned chitta, which was the mind or heart mind, not just in the intellectual or cognitive sense, but as the total field of consciousness, including emotion, awareness, intention, attention. There's no word for that in English language, right? So doubling back to one of the other previous I Chings, like chitta and language, right? How language keeps things trapped. And then within the Buddhist traditions, chitta holds nuanced meanings, okay? So in Theravada, chitta is one of three overlapping terms for mind: citta, mano, and vijnana. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Chitta specifically refers to the emotive or volitional aspect of mind, the seat of intentional and deep conditioning. So in that, what I'm getting to here is how we've separated the mind, heart, and spirit, mind, heart, and body. And when you look at medicine and you talk about, oh, you've got to regulate your central nervous system, right? Well, it's more than this central nervous system. That's the name that we've given it. Your whole body is the nervous system, right? Everything, the whole thing. So when someone shares with me studies about, oh, this body part and this body part and this thing, oh, there's fascia that we've discovered now, right? So yeah, tending to them in isolation is what continues to break down and put demonizing the other parts. So when you learn to see your body as whole, which in the context of the 5 personality patterns, the leaving pattern has a tendency to want to dissect and break things apart, because to be whole would mean confronting the terror of being whole, because in order to escape, they disassociate, they make their body bad. They're the ones that tend to end up with most eating disorders. But in that, what's important here was coming back to wholeness by saying no, the inner no to the separation, right? And then my friend also mentioned a Dogen teacher called I Dogen, and he's apparently the goat, the goat of Zen. And there's something that he mentioned here, which emphasizes just sitting. Like it's a form of objectless meditation. So you don't try and meditate on a thing. You go into the zero-ness or the no-ness. And practice is enlightenment. So true Dogen teacher doesn't just convey intellectual concepts. They live the teaching, often humbly, quietly, and with radical presence. Again, presence, when you're sitting by yourself in a cave, is a little bit easier than being in the world, around other people, around family, around kids, right, around partners. So to maintain radical presence in the context of the work that I do requires you becoming aware of your survival patterns and how they take you out of presence. Dogen was known for sayings like, to study the way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by the myriad things. A Dogen teacher transmits these teachings not as metaphysics, but as a way to live and relate, ultimately and non-separately. So in the context of my work, there is no separation between self and other, practice and life. Right relationship is not a goal, but an unfolding expression of presence. The love map is not something you create and then follow, but something you realize by sitting squarely in your own life without chasing, fixing, or rejecting. So in that, the love map work that I do in aligned attraction is purely about resurrecting the sensations in the body that you think that you've put to bed, that you think that you've healed. And because of the presence that I can share, those things naturally bubble to the surface because I don't shame them. I welcome them. I welcome all those senses. I welcome all of those labels that you've given those senses, right? Success in ego terms involves pushing upward through mental effort and external action. So I'm assuming when I got this way back when did I get it back when? 19th of March, April, May. Yeah. So I was really struggling in my business, right? And all the techniques, all the technologies, all the posting and doing the ads and doing all these things, like it was all this mental effort, right? I need to do this thing, I need to do that thing. What's my goals for this week? Right? You got to set a goal, you got to set a target. All of those were just freaking exhausting. And I could see my body was like, no, this is not the way. This is not the way. This is a mimic. This is the conditioning that's been projected upon to you, John, to be something that you're not. Right? This is not real. It's not. It's not. It's not correct. That's not correct. Okay. Just going to fix this window up and scale it correctly. Not correct. So in that, it was a real wake up call for me to be aware of, well, where am I pushing with my mind and being aware of how the ego works? Because the ego's it's sneaky, right? Safely let go of the dread he may have of what will happen. When I started to let go of the wheel a bit, of all these responsibilities that and self-images of how to be a father, how to be a man, how to be a husband, you're presented with the dread of the consequence. And then when you say no to all those sensations of the dread, you find a peace. You find a peace. And then you might say, well, John, you've got some real world responsibilities. No, I don't. No, I don't. And that can be the portal that I was resisting stepping through until I was confronted with this reality. that the I Ching presented to me. But no, I don't actually have any responsibilities. I don't. I be myself, whatever that is. Become the true self by subtracting, step by step. Oopsie daisy. And then ambition. What does ambition feel like in my body? What's the sensation that I've labeled as ambition? So the more presence you can bring to yourself, the more you can identify, oh, that's that sensation. That's that sense. That's that. Oh, that's the ego trying to give me another goal. No. No goals. No goals. No goals for you. No soup for you. No goals for you. The ego is ever goal orientated, and discovering its goal orientation is one of the ways to catch on to its presence and trickery. So the ego has its own presence. Its own presence. It's the doppelganger. It's the other thing. It's the other voice that we can listen to that gets us into fates or pulls us away from our true self. Helpers of nature. Know that there's helpers of nature. So the part of you that gets egoically ambitious around trying to save the planet, you don't need to do that unless that is your truth. Right? Helpers of nature achieve things through transformation. The inner growth achieved differs from faith, which requires a person to put aside his common sense in favor of trusting an abstract concept taught to him by human authorities. It's a great analogy of in this book somewhere talking about faith, where it's like you put yourself on a limb and then saw it off, hoping that you're not going to hit the ground. I spoke to my friend yesterday about faith. One of my friends who's actually in prison right now said that he turned to Jesus, and I'm like, interesting, because when you're in a dark place, faith and hope can be the guiding light. And people turn to Jesus and religion to find that hope and that guiding light, that faith, to outsource that there's help available now, whatever that looks like, and that they're completely taken care of. Like wherever they're going, whatever they're doing is all part of the process to bring them into cosmic harmony, however they want to do that. And every individual's journey is going to be unique, because every individual's know is unique, because each individual is unique. So faith also has a sensation that you can catch it. So does hope. So over the last 24 hours, I've been saying no to hope. It shows up all over the place, right? Hope for my next client. Oh, I'm talking to someone in my DMs right now. Like maybe they'll be the next one. I don't need to worry about my cash flow anymore. So you can feel the energy goes over there into the future. The presence goes over there. And the same thing happens with faith, goes over there. So saying no to faith and no to hope has helped me, brought me back into a deep presence, knowing that it's okay. My life is correct the way it is right now. This line may also point to a person's lack of confidence in his feelings, or a doubt that he will receive help from the sage or helpers in time, right? Let go of time. Let go of your concept of time. The helpers and the sage work at an atomic level, and they appear through insights, right? And the insight at a neurological level is light information. It's light, and insight is light. Memory is light. Okay, you can't pull a memory out and put it on a I don't know, piece of paper. You can write it. It's not the same, right? So memory is atomic. Memory is atomic. If the object is not to deal with the whole tree, the object is not to deal with the whole tree, but to identify and extinguish the seed that has given rise to it. Okay, this is deeper than the root. This is the seed, right? Because time is cyclical. It's non-linear. What's the seed that actually allowed the initial roots to grow? When a person possesses this idea, which has given rise to the belief that the self is divided into spirit, mind, and body, he wants to push himself up and out of his slandered animal nature. So a lot of tantric work is about returning to the body. And my work in the aligned attraction, the love mapping, is also about returning to the animal body, because the animal body is what attracts. All of the I Ching, love is attraction. This version of the I Ching, love is the force of attraction. So if your body does not know how to love itself, you will attract something that will mirror that not love of self. This is because the demonization of any part of one's nature causes that part to become perverted, right? Perversion. I've done a video on YouTube about on pedophilia. I think I did one on pornography. But with the perversion of sexuality, what happens is when the animal body is not dealt with in a constructive way, it is repressed. Then in that repression, it comes out in unhealthy ways like pedophilia. So when you demonize the body, and a lot of there's a reason, maybe there isn't a reason, pedophiles in the church is because the body is demonized in the church. Which when someone says to me, I've come to Jesus. Okay. Is that the Bible demonizes the body. You can't escape the gravity of that. The Bible denigrates the body. So do the other religions too, the Abrahamic religions, denigrate the body. They look down upon it. Hoping is never in harmony with the cosmic way because it is focused on the future due to the assumption that there is no hope in the present. I've covered that. A person who seeks to elevate himself out of his body is not achieving wholeness, for wholeness is to fully embrace all of one's being. This embrace is possible only by divesting oneself of all beliefs that divide the personality up into parts and all the hierarchical views that place one part as higher than or superior to another. So when the mind gets elevated, when the sexuality gets elevated, when anything gets elevated above another part, like, oh, my brain is amazing, I'm so smart, but I'm not very attractive, right? I'm not very attractive. Wait, I am very attractive, but I'm not so smart, right? So as soon as you put that there, you're inviting in lessons, especially in relationships, you're inviting in lessons to help you love yourself. The helper of self-examination. A certain dedication and perseverance is required, but all is made easier when we ask the helper of self-examination to bring the ideas to mind and erase them. Let's do it now. Helper of examination. Help me bring what needs to come to mind so that we can erase them. Done. Then you can do that for 3 days. Then you can cast the RTCM and see, do I need to keep asking for the help of self-examination? Right? Throw the coin. And it might need to come back again. Right? You might need to come back again and do it again. Right? All these helpers want us to ask them for help. Otherwise, he is meant to enjoy his life. Okay, here's the thing. All right, with all this inner work, is that when you become spiritual, you can stop wanting to enjoy your life because it is this ascetic thing that you need to avoid. Not allowed to have fun. Don't have fun. You've got to be serious, right? Did a podcast on why so serious. So you can't laugh at yourself. You can't laugh at life. Then what are you even doing here? And there's laughing at yourself and there's laughing at life, like the cosmic joke. Right? So self-denigrating humor has diminishing returns in the level of freedom that it can give you. So self-denigrating humor, it tends to be an enduring pattern from the 5 personality patterns, enduring pattern habit to do because they don't know how to deal with the shame and guilt of who they really are or who they've become. The imps then cause him to invest in false enthusiasms. The common theme behind these phrases is the attainment of supreme success. If the goal is money or fame, the imps drive the person to sell his dignity to attain it. If the goal is spiritual perfection, the person may sacrifice his health, friends, or possessions. The careful path of following one's inner feelings by small steps never elicits this kind of enthusiasm, right? Which requires presence to follow your inner feelings. Slow right down. Watching this and or listening to this can exacerbate the leaving survival pattern. The leaving survival pattern does not connect to their body. They forget to drink, they forget to eat, they forget to sleep because their body is not a priority. They're living in their head and out of their body. So when you stop, you can feel the cold. Oh man, I'm cold. I'm hungry. Man, I'm actually really thirsty. Oh, I need to do a poo. Body 101. Learning how to be in the body. Being on the computer for extended periods of times allows for more imps to come in for me. The more I scroll on social media and the feed sends me tips on how to be more famous or have more money or have more whatever, become the superior man, insert imps. So I spend less time on social media now. I do other things that entertain me, make me happy, insert joy into my life. So that's what I have for you on this I Ching. And thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.